Hi, I'm Brandon Witzler.
David Ellis.
I'm Tim Carter.
Today we'll be talking about our IT project, and for this project we chose Walsh University. So here's a little bit of an agenda of what we're going to be talking about today. We'll discuss our project overview, our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, the issues that we've identified, an internet strength and speed test, our recommendations going forward, the budget, limitations, and feasibility of these recommendations, a competitive analysis, and then we'll wrap it up with a conclusion. Okay, so here's a project overview. So what we did to start, to try to get a direction with what we wanted to do to improve Walsh's IT system, is we created a survey and gave it to Brian Greenwell, who is the Chief Information Officer of Walsh University. We focused on a couple key dimensions within the survey, such as mobile functionality, the overall infrastructure of the IT system, and security within this system. And then ultimately, any recommendations that he would have with the strengths and the weaknesses of our IT system so that we could get a direction going forward. And also, we decided to look at a key problem that we projected that would be a problem in the survey. Tim and I spent a lot of time at Walsh as we were undergraduate students here and lived on campus for 3 or 4 years. And one of the big things we noticed as students is that the mobile Wi-Fi connectivity is very poor and very weak. So what we did was created an internet test where we went around campus to many different locations and tested how long the Wi-Fi stays connected to mobile devices and desktop devices, and then also how fast the pages would refresh. So next in our project overview, we identified the issues based off of the survey and the internet test, and then we made recommendations on how we can improve Walsh University's IT system. And then lastly, we will talk about the budget, limitations, and feasibility of these recommendations.
So next we move to the SWOT analysis. So the strengths within the Walsh IT department. So biggest one definitely is the network security. So that involves the protection and the firewalls that enable the student and faculty protection of both of their information. Specifically through the ECN student portal. Obviously students have to sign in, username and password to get into their account. Faculty and staff signing into Office 365 to get to their work emails. The firewall and security systems in place are outstanding. The communication within the department as well as externally. So the communication in their IT department, and then the emails and phone calls that Brian Greenwell himself sends out in case of phone system outages or wireless connection outages as well. Another strength, the cross-training of the staff within the IT department, more specifically the senior staff management. So when one staff member is missing, someone can take their job and do it for them. They're very good at multitasking, understanding which problem is which, handling the wireless connections, any student problems they may have with email or something with the Cavalier Center, identifying their financial aid award, certain things in that regard. Finally, I mentioned the senior staff cross-training. Their staff knowledge is outstanding. They're able to take on any problem head on. So now we move to the weaknesses. So obviously you have that senior staff, the more veteran staff strength. So the young staff inexperience, because a lot of the IT department has recent graduates from Walsh or outside organizations come in, more specifically grad assistants. It does take time for those recent grads to acclimate to the system and to prepare for any prevention of the security outages. And then the network strength itself, Brandon briefly mentioned our experience on campus with our student mobile Wi-Fi. Often the connection would stop after about 45 seconds to a minute. We tested that earlier. With the use of the mobile smartphone and iPads, obviously the connection does not stay for long. But however, the desktop and laptop connections are not included in those weaknesses because that is a big strength of the IT department. And finally, the mobile Wi-Fi connection, which I briefly covered. we plan to make opportunities and provide different functionalities for that in the future. Opportunities, so I mentioned the desktop and laptop functions were available via mobile device. That needs to be implemented more, in terms of the new student Walsh mobile app that is now available on smartphones and iPads. Those can cover your class schedule, your ECN portal, but with that, we want to make sure we're, creating new functions for students to use to make it easier and more applicable. For example, replacing student ID cards, their meal swipe, with e-cards that can be scanned. There are oftentimes students lose their meal swipe and have to pay $10 in the student affairs office to get that meal swipe back. This could be prevented by having a security e-card on their phones where they can use the scanner on the phone to swipe into the dorms or go to the cafeteria to check their meal swipes and certain flex dollar amounts. Another thing is creating a rewards program as well for how many times that student ID is used in different locations. A meal plan balance, which I mentioned before, keeping track of their flex dollars and student meal swipes. A student planner, and finally an athletic portal for student athletes that can check their eligibility and just kind of see where they have a study table, certain things like that to maintain their schedule of classes and their respective sports. Finally, the collaboration with the third-party organization, the admissions department as well as the financial aid office collaborate with SunGuard Higher Education in terms of using the CRM that was recently implemented. That could be an opportunity as well to continue to thrive with that organization and have the IT department be more involved with SunGuard. So moving to threats, obviously rival universities that use similar mobile applications in terms of recruiting prospective students, keeping that student retention rate up, that could be a threat, as well as officially outsourcing security, so Walsh independently working with the SunGuard Higher Education Service. So identifying the issues here, so the network strength, mobile specifically, like I said before with the internet test, we lost connection within 1 minute. The mobile innovation features, the electronic student ID card, that could be easier access for students to get in dorms, not have to worry about losing their swipe. Obviously prevents any security reasons as well. The athletic portal and meal plan balance, they're able to sign in with their student accounts with those. And then finally, the extranet system, the third-party communication with SunGuard Higher Education.
Okay, so I want to talk about the actual internet strength test that we performed. So we went around Walsh University's campus and chose different areas strategically to show the whole campus, to represent the entire campus in our study. So what we did was we checked mobile Wi-Fi connectivity by checking how long it stays connected by using different applications such as Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Pandora, and different applications like that. And what we found was that the average time connected was 4.27 minutes, which is pretty low, and which is actually very low. And we actually found that sometimes the Wi-Fi would stay connected under 20 seconds, which is kind of alarming. And also the average refresh time of an internet page was 5.06 seconds for mobile devices. On desktop devices, like Tim was talking about, we didn't really need to test the connectivity strength of it because that is a strength of their IT system. There really wasn't a problem, so it's not something that needs to be tested. But the average refresh time was 3.04 seconds, which was a little bit better than the mobile refresh time. But what the reasoning for this is, having mobile connectivity is very important because a lot of students at Walsh are athletes. They're involved in a lot of student organizations, and they're always on the go. It seems like a small problem, but it's so important to our academic life, our social life, because we use it everywhere we go. And we need to access these things such as ECN, our emails, and if we're not connected to Wi-Fi, we're racking up that data plan. And it's really an inconvenience and a frustration for students. So by having a strong mobile Wi-Fi connection, it increases student satisfaction, and ultimately it will have an impact on retention rates.
Hi, I'm David, if you didn't remember, I'm more of an outsider, but a newbie here to the Walsh campus for the graduate work. I did my undergraduate at Youngstown State. I'm going to talk about some of our recommendations we have for our internet, more or less, initiative here at Walsh. The first thing is obviously to improve the mobile Wi-Fi connectivity. We want to extend the extranet, so we're not just highly reliant on one company. The application model that I kind of put together a little bit here. The main things to the application, we want to extend the experience and knowledge from the current staff members to the newer members on the team here at Walsh, and we want to make accessibility closer to the student, so it's more hands-on for them based on the mobile app. And then we're going to link information hubs to the users, mostly the students there, but we can extend it to the extranet and whoever needs that information here at Walsh. And with the changes we're recommending, we still want to ensure our network security with the expansion and keep security at the forefront of all our initiatives. A few notes I just want to go over. Obviously the security and improving ground to the tools and procedures here already in place at Walsh. A new initiative, we'll test those obviously, see any little holes or anything like that. But sometimes exploiting those vulnerabilities, especially with like the extranet, or they're going to be more use of the app or more interactive with us. That it kind of has a risk factor tied into there with our network. And we want to reduce anonymous users with sign-ins and obviously stamping of time uses and stuff like that. Create that database for when our apps and network is being used. And then the mobile app extension kind of extends to ECN a little bit, where chat rooms and discussion forums, the resources available, and news and events is kind of a key touching point that we'll talk a little bit in a couple slides. The budget and limitations feasibility. The main thing about budgets is keeping to the cost. So I'm going to go through a few of them and go back and touch on a few. So simplicity is number one, prioritization and evaluation, explicit and required access, layered defense, remote access and reduction of transaction costs, and encryption. To go touch back on simplicity, we want to keep it simple. If you make it too complex, the setup can lead from more vulnerable application. Prioritization, number two, was to know what to protect and the sensitivity of the information being exchanged. And then encryption, obviously we want to protect the user. So we want to preserve the confidentiality and the information being transferred over the sites. The next couple sites kind of go into more of the mobile application and kind of helping out with the Wi-Fi as well, because we do touch a little bit here and there on data usage based on the students' consumption of it here on campus. Because when you lose Wi-Fi connection, you're probably going to rely on your data usage. So the next slide will I put together a competitive analysis. I look at Akron University, Youngstown State, and Malone. Akron had their actually own app that they offer to their students. Youngstown State uses a version of it, but it's kind of more extended to the ECN we use, but it's called Blackboard. And Malone really didn't have any app set up, but they do offer like a virtual tour and kind of extension to attract people to their campus. The pictures here, real quick, are just kind of basic templates for the Akron mobile app. Obviously, we're going to try to make it more customizable to here at Walsh, but without having coding background and stuff like that. Even Akron uses a third-party called Boopsy. They're kind of what do you call it? More like their app creator, but more of like educational institutions like libraries and stuff like that, where they kind of focus their efforts on getting that information, so that's resource and reliable. The second one here, campus locations. Obviously, Akron's a little bit bigger than us, but here at Walsh, but we have different locations, and just kind of the basic template again here, like I'm saying. And then the Route Express, which they offer a shuttle service, which that can be, you know, replaced with maybe, you know, our events that we have here on campus or anything like that, because we're going to tie in a little bit more with that. The next one is actually Youngstown State. They offer what they call Blackboard. It's very similar to our ECN, but it's actually offered on a mobile application. So you can access it and you can customize it for how you need. Much like our ECN, you can customize it a little bit, and the professor, you know, can customize it for each class course. But you know, here you can add modules, courses kind of that you're taking and are available. You know, that my announcements, you can tie that into the calendar and events coming up and news. And that's one, the current courses you're in, and my courses. This is kind of just a desktop view of with the extension, but you have to have that applicability to kind of adapt to each kind of desktop, tablet, you know, mobile device. And this is just kind of analysis of the, you know, summary of the analysis. We want to, the competitive model we want to create is to differentiate and find the place for extension into the mobile application. Use core competencies of internal infrastructure to improve the interaction here on campus. We want a customizable integration of applying the ECN functions to a secure handheld device. And then we also want to strengthen the intimacy between the senior staff members here and the younger staff. More or less, we want to be more than a mobile website, but we want to create an interaction there with the device. A few extra things I want to talk on this slide is obviously you just want to touch back on the customization of the app itself, so you can adapt things to what you need and use here. And all right, cool. Yep, that's up. Sorry. Up here. All right, so then the conclusion, but before we go to that, I just want to touch a little bit on the Loans virtual tour. I actually just noticed here when I was visiting on campus, you actually already offer a virtual tour here, but we can actually have an opportunity there to kind of apply that to our mobile app. And then the campus attractiveness. We want to make sure the campus is attractive to the users. So we want to tie in maybe rewards. So say if you buy merchandise, buy your textbooks here on campus, even go to classes and stuff like that, you maybe rack up rewards points, and then you can use them for discounts later on merchandise, textbooks, information that you know might use here, get coupons to local area restaurants or something like that. And then I think that we're going to lead into the conclusion.
So in conclusion, you know, after identifying the network strength, the mobile Wi-Fi issue, we need to address these key issues here. Mobile Wi-Fi connectivity, obviously, you know, going back to the internet test, improving how long students can stay on that Walsh student Wi-Fi or Walsh guest Wi-Fi as long as they're on campus on the go, since we're always on the go, on the move. The lack of mobile app functions, I cannot stress enough how essential the Walsh Student ID e-card can be for students in terms of accessing their student account, the ECN portal, their email. Creating a more engagement with users as well, not just a mobile website like David mentioned, but an interactive system. And then finally, to not rely too much on the third-party extranet system known as SunGuard. It is important to really collaborate and make sure each side, you know, for example, the admissions department, the financial aid department, SunGuard Higher Education, and the IT department are all working collaboratively together to make sure that the student engagement and interaction is successful. With that, that's all we have for you guys. Thank you very much for listening, and hopefully these changes are implemented in the near future.